Hi friends, hope you are doing fine. So today I'm going to talk about how to get a teaching faculty job and what are the things which are required for a teaching faculty job. So now what's a teaching faculty job? Now, as you know, there are a very large number of universities around the world, and these essentially give bachelor's degrees or master's degree. So essentially not all universities give PhD degrees. So you may have heard of a large number of colleges which essentially give a bachelor's degree, or some colleges which give a bachelor's and master's degree. Very often a university is some place which gives a PhD degree, so that's not necessarily the case, but that's often the case. So now if you want to get a teaching position, you can get it in a regular college which essentially has a bachelor's degree program. You can get it in a college which has a bachelor and master's degree program, and sometimes you can get a teaching position at a university which is a research university, because there is a separate cadre of professors known as teaching professors, and essentially these professors mostly engage in teaching. They supervise courses, they conduct labs and so on, and so this new type of title is also there in many universities, and that's called the teaching professor. So now let's look at some of the things which you need to get this job. So the number one thing, of course, is it's good if you have a PhD degree, and this is so because in years past it was possible for a person with a bachelor or master's degree to get a teaching professor. But what has happened in the last couple of decades is that a very large number of graduates have come out who have a PhD degree, and so this market is intensely competitive, and there are a lot of PhD students who are very happy to take a teaching professor job because it frees them from this whole burden of trying to get a lot of research grants and so on. So essentially I will presume that you have a PhD degree, or you are going for a PhD degree and you are a PhD student at this stage. So the number one thing is try to get good marks in your bachelor degree and master's degree and PhD degree curriculum, because teaching schools look at your transcript. And I was surprised to find this in many cases, is that they actually peruse your transcript thoroughly. They go through all the courses you have taken, they try to see where you have got the A grades, B grades, and they are especially afraid of people who have got D grades or something like that in their courses. So keep that in mind, that if you have got D grades in some of the core courses in your field, then that will come across as negative in a teaching school, though a research university will not even bother to look at your grades at that level. They are only concerned about your publications as of now. See, in a research university you are only as good as your last paper. So the second thing is know how to teach a class, and this is very important because teaching schools are going to ask you to teach a class, and during this time they are going to have the entire department or a large number of faculty in the department present. The department chair is going to be there, the dean is going to be there, and there is going to be an assortment of students in the class also. Sometime an entire class may be mandated to come to that lecture. So in these situations, try to prepare a lecture which is simpler to give in terms of the material which you have prepared. It should not be something which is very difficult, very abstruse. It should be something which is very basic. So if you are talking about solid mechanics, let us say, think of something very basic like plane stress and plane strain. If you are thinking of fluid mechanics, think of some of the basic equations such as Bernoulli equation, momentum equation, continuity equation, and so on. So go around the basics of the subject and try to put in some examples also, because that's going to help the case. Now in most such cases, I would say that it's better to give a class lecture in Whiteboard or Blackboard. So don't try to do this in PowerPoint, because that doesn't come across very well. What happens in PowerPoint is that you cover too much material in the class, and most of the students are not able to absorb all this material. So what happens with doing the thing on board is that it actually slows you down to a pace which can be followed by people in general. So essentially that's the amount of material which can be covered in a class, and so it's a self-fulfilling way of essentially limiting the amount of material you can cover. So essentially they are going to ask you what subject you want to teach. So at that point, like I mentioned, you mention the subject you are most comfortable with and which you have some prepared notes in the class. Prepare for the class, go slowly, speak slowly, make diagrams, solve a problem, and try to answer any questions posed to you very carefully, because that's something they are going to look at, how you are interacting with the class, how you are asking questions, and so on. Now many research students or PhD types are not prepared to ask questions, so make it a point at every 15 minutes or so to pause and look at the class directly and ask them if they have any questions, because if you do not do that, you just continue talking for the entire 1 hour, it may not come across very well. Now the next thing is, be prepared to talk about your research. Now some people think that just because they are going for a teaching school, research doesn't matter anymore, but that's not true. They are going to ask you to make a research presentation, and typically it's a good idea to be ready with your PhD thesis presentation or something like that, so you can present this for a 30 or 45-minute lecture. They just want to know what you have done in research. The students come and check out what people have done and so on. Now remember, even though you are at a research university, it is expected that you continue doing a small amount of research on your own or with some bachelor degree student every now and then. So it's not that your research should completely come to a stop if you have joined a teaching university position. So keep that in mind. Though they are hiring you primarily for teaching, they expect you that you are going to do a lot of research also. Now also develop some thought about how you can get grants, and this is very important because they may not expect you to get a lot of grants, but it's good if you say that some grants can be obtained for the type of research you do, because what happens in a teaching school is that every few years you may be able to get a grant from somebody, and this is going to considerably bolster your case as far as the promotions are concerned. So essentially, when you go for the first round of promotion or the second round of promotion, the grants can play an important role here. Finally, have some plans about your summer vacation, summer lab, and so on. So remember, many teaching school you will have to teach for 9 months and the summer will be off, and during that time you can essentially focus on doing some research. Maybe you can visit a national lab, you can visit some other research university and you can do research there. Maybe you can visit the research university from where you have done your PhD. So all these things come across very positively to any of the faculty at the teaching university, because they do want a teacher, but they know times are changing, so they want a teacher who is interested in research. So this was my take today on how to get a teaching faculty job. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please excuse the airplanes. Whenever I try to make videos, they do fly around. I don't know why, but that's the way life is. So I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.